Let's go. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday, March 11th, 2024. Great to be with you. We're going to get started in just a minute, guys. I want to chill, man. Have a little bit of a moment to chill with the chill music. Let's go. Let a few people rain in to the call, like drizzle in to the call tonight. Hope you're having a great week and a great March. Daylight savings was just this past week. I know I was discombobulated a little bit on Sunday. I had a call that we were on Sunday all day. I was like, man, where did that extra hour go? I needed that extra hour. But man, it is good to roll into this last month of the quarter and to be with people like you inside of your businesses. And I'm excited to be here tonight to share a few things with you and hopefully make the difference in your trucking company, in your fleet, man. Simplify some things. Getting started in just a minute. All right, let's go. Good evening, everyone. If you're on the East Coast, good evening and welcome to another edition of our live stream. All right, plan today's topic for our session is how to plan for profits in trucking in any market. Okay, because I know that sometimes it becomes a mystery as to how we can profit inside of the trucking industry, how you guys can profit inside of the trucking industry with everything that's going on. Man, the fuel prices are high, and the truck, man, the maintenance, the upkeep on it. I mean, this keeps breaking down this freaking DEF system. It's always giving me issues. All these conversations I keep having with drivers, and I mean, I've been there too, man. I've experienced that where, man, there's a moment where you feel like you're rolling, you're getting on a roll. You just got the truck out of the shop, one of your units out of the shop, and it's moving good, and it's producing for you, and all of a sudden you just got it out, and boom, it goes back in, and it's like down. So it's like double whammy. You just paid money for maintenance, and it's no longer able to produce that revenue for you, right? You're not dropping freight, you're not producing any income, and then there's an additional cost, right? You just paid for maintenance. Now you're looking to have that other bill out there, that huge expenditure out there again, possibly for maintenance again. And man, we're dealing with drivers a lot of the times that are not really taking into consideration the care that you would take into consideration of your truck and of your business and what you want to have represented. Like, your name is in the matter, right? You have your name on the line when you run your company, and you want everybody inside of it to reflect that. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that you want to have money in the bank. You want to actually be on the plus side of that. You want to see that your company's growing positively month after month, year after year, right? And then that the legacy is there. And sometimes it seems as though, well, I don't know what's going to happen. It's just, I'm just at the whim of what the market is doing. I'm at the whim of what the drivers are doing. I'm at the whim of, what we're capable of doing when it comes to purchasing assets, like buying another truck. There's you don't know exactly when to expand and get that new asset and if it's going to benefit you. But I'm here today to show you that, man, you can plan for profitability in your trucking company. It is possible to do that. All right. So with that being said, this is me, Cheston Bulgin, Senior Consultant at By the Books Consulting. All right. And a founder CFO here at this company. You can reach us at 888-4BTB now. That's 888-428-2669. And by any of these means, you can reach us on the web, bythebooksconsultants.com or at youraccountingsuperhero.com. You can also reach me by email. That's my email address, Justin at bythebooksconsultants.com. You can reach me there. And man, we do the organizational work behind the scenes for people like you to really help gain some peace, ease, and clarity around the systems that you have, so that you don't have all these headaches when it comes to making sense out of the numbers. You're able to track things in a way where it's easy. Then you're able to read that number story to understand, well, what actions do I take based on what the numbers are telling me? We are advisors on QuickBooks Online. We're pretty savvy with the technology that you would want to use to run and manage your fleet. So we help out in that area. We do tax strategy and the tax planning. So the tax strategy aspect is, well, I want to keep more money in my pocket and not necessarily have to give it to Uncle Sam. If I do not have to, that's the strategy portion of it. And then the planning portion of it is, okay, what are we going to do specifically? Like, how are we going to execute this, implement this over the course of time? So we do that also. And then there's advisory. For example, I mean, in terms of advisory, I was on a call today with one of the companies that we work with. We're migrating over to a trucking management software that's going to really be a time savings tool, but not just a time saving tool. But when we save the time and increase the productivity, it's actually going to create more money, right? They don't need to have as many staff members to produce the same results. Actually, they're going to have less staff to produce more results because the technology just streamlines everything inside of the fleet. So, I mean, literally, there was a decision that could save $400,000 a year, in terms of efficiency, right? So that's some of the things that we do here at this company. So we have your back in that area. And today's conversation is really geared toward you to help you understand that you can profit. All right. And there's a way that this wants to show up. Just want to be straight. Like, there's going to be a timing of this. Like, if you want to make a decision for your profitability of your company on the economy of one, the scale of one. All right. So if you're smaller, and in this conversation, like if you're somebody who just got into being a small carrier and you're just like an owner operator, or even if you're an investor owner who has maybe 1 to 5 trucks, this is your time. This is your shot really to get that economy of scale down, so that when you decide to pull the trigger and grow, you know that you're going to grow profitably, because you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're making the decisions to grow profitably. Okay. But it starts here at this scale. And hello, we are live. Yes, right. We are live, everybody. So if you want to grow effectively, the opportunity is when we're at that scale of 1 to 5 trucks, right? We get that locked down. We get that locked in. We understand what we're doing day in and day out to achieve that profitability on that level. Then that becomes a really good scalable model to just rinse, wash, and repeat and keep that going. Okay. So that's the goal tonight, is really give you a few things that may be helpful inside of that. And I know there's a lot of moving parts. One conversation may be the difference, is what I want to say, may be the difference to helping you move that forward, even though you have all these moving parts. Okay. So I hope that conversation will be this conversation. And before we get into everything that we're going to get into tonight, quick disclaimer: the following is for educational purposes only, and it is not to be considered financial accounting or legal advice. Please consult your tax and accounting legal professional for specific advice. All right, just got to get that out there, guys. All right, so now let's get into it. Okay, so a couple of things inside of my conversation that I want to really deliver tonight. I just want to be with you on a conversational level. I want to get something out here first and foremost that's fundamental, foundational for you as a fleet owner to actually plan for profits in trucking. Okay. So let's do that. So one of the main things here, guys, that we want to consider is one, choosing. I'm going to flip this. It looks like Just checking in. Is that like backwards? Can you not see that? this thing right here. Can you not see this because it's like backwards? Let's check in who's ever watching. If it's backwards, just let me know. I'm about to flip this around anyway to make sure that it's clear for everybody. Boom. I'm going to turn this around. That looks like now. Ha! Look at that. That might be it. You can see it. It says choosing. That's what it should say. It says choosing. And now you can see it. Good. Thank you for letting me know. It was backwards. Now you can see it is choosing. All right. So what are we choosing here? The main thing we're going to choose here is the assumption that you can and will shift things in your company and not entertain anything else. That's first. Okay. Choosing the assumption that you can and will shift things in your company in your favor and not consider anything else. All right. So I'm saying that. Okay. And people are like, well, yeah, I hear you, but I don't want you to really feel me on that. There is no other consideration, nothing else. All right. Now the choice needs to be made. And once that's made, then the actions will come because then you have actually shifted in who you're being. So you can see those things. Like you can see the actual actions to take, the exact actions to take, and then execute on those actions to take. Okay. That has to be in place first. We have to do that. And that's a prerequisite. We can't get anywhere without doing that first. You got to choose that this is going to go this way. Okay. That's the biggest deal. All right. That's why I want to put that up front. Now, when we do that, when we choose this now that that's done, then just to make sure that's closed up, that loop is closed up, regardless of what your drivers are doing, regardless of what the economy is doing, regardless of whatever circumstances and situations show up, the choice is that I can and will shift things for my company in my favor. And I'm not going to entertain anything else. Now, I'm hoping that's clear what I'm saying. That is a prerequisite inside of this. All right. Now that we have that, now we have everything that we need to win. Okay. And now it's going to be the choice. The next action for ourselves is to really understand what it looks like to measure everything after we've made that choice. Now we're going to start measuring everything. And when I say measure everything, well, I'm going to measure every time the wheels have a potential movement on it for the fleet. Anytime the real wheels have a potential to roll, I'm going to measure every roll and what that does. Roll of the wheel, roll of the hub. Okay. I'm going to measure everything. So that means loads. I'm like the rate confirmations. Of course, we're going to know what we're getting for rate confirmations. We're going to know, we're going to measure what activity is going on in the market. Like what can I expect to get inside of the market for the loads that I'm taking in this particular lane. I want to start looking at those things. I want to measure how much the fuel rates are for me and how much the fuel is costing me every time that wheel turns today in this market. So I want to know what that is. So like week by week, at least on a weekly basis, I want to update that for myself to understand what those costs are. I want to know what the impact is of me paying my drivers for each one of these loads. And then I want to know how much it's costing me in terms of maintenance for all my trucks on an annual basis, so I can get a pattern, right? And I can see when that pattern starts to shift, okay, over time by keeping accurate measurements of those. So I want to have the systems in place to track and measure everything. I want to see everything. I want to know everything, right? Now, why? Why do I want to know everything? Because when I make choices inside of the fleet, it's not going to be a mystery to me. It's not going to be that thing that we were saying that we weren't going to give our attention to, like, well, what the economy is doing and what our drivers are doing. We're going to be given to the data now. We're going to get the data. We're giving to the data because we're going to be given. When I say given to, that means that's what's going to give me my choices and actions. That's what I mean when I say given to the data. That is what is going to give me my choices and my actions. All right. So I'm going to take a look at that, the data, right? That's going to give me every decision that I'm going to make. And I'm going to look and see, well, how can I use that data to make choices? But not only that, how can I use that data and manipulate that data in a way that works for me, right? Because now that when I make those choices, that becomes a manipulation of that data. Now I can make a new trajectory for my company. Like for example, uh, reefer rates, right? Reefer rates dropped a lot recently, like across the nation. They did. They dropped significantly. But what if you were running reefer, like reefer trucks, like reefer trailers, and refrigerated transport? And then this happened, and you're like, man, life sucks. I can't get a decent rate nowadays. But of course not. Well, that's the market. That's what happened. But you're not really using that information to your favor, right? Well, I was on a call the other day with somebody. I mean, I love working with the people that I work with, but this particular client, I love working with her and her husband, and they stopped working with us like on a monthly basis. They stopped working with us in the fall of last year, like sometime around August, September. They stopped working with us on a monthly basis. We're not the cheapest people to work with. We're not. We're not the most expensive people to work with either, but we're not going to be the cheapest to work with. Okay. Mainly because we want to give you everything, in terms of like all the energy, and we want to direct that toward you getting a specific outcome, like the outcome that you came here to get. It's really a results driven thing. So we take that into consideration so that we can deliver. So we're not going to be the cheapest. And she was looking for, cheap at that point in time. And just on the compliance side, just keeping the books and accounting and everything working. So they decided to go cheaper, cutting costs there. And I remember having that conversation. I was like, man, that's a bad idea, right? And I knew it was a bad idea, not because I didn't want to lose a client particularly. I mean, that's okay for me. Like, and people choose. But I can see certain things I can see in terms of like the overall benefit, and I felt it at that point in time. It's like, man, why would they do that to themselves? Like they're going to end up being worse off because of this, right? And that's why I said it was a bad idea. And I remember feeling that way. Like, man, if they do this, it's going to cause us another spiraling effect. They're not going to be able to do other things, other things in their business and move that forward. So anyway, we had that conversation, and they decided to do what they did. They left us, and I just had this conversation with them like a little bit more than a week ago, like about a week ago. We came back because we're going to do taxes for them, and it was like, man, nothing was done on that side, the bookkeeping side. Nothing was done, right? And they said they had been meeting with that person, right, and working with that person, but nothing had been done. All right. So they're feeling that pain. And that's a side note. They were feeling that pain. And this is speaking to the thing I'm about to really talk about right here. All right. It's a pattern that I want you to really get. Now, we talked about that, then like none of that stuff was done. And then they were talking about like the thing that we just talked about in the beginning, where I said, we got to choose, right? This thing about choosing to choosing that you can and will shift things in your favor. Okay. So I asked a question inside of this, our conversation, because she was complaining about, just the way things were going in the business. It was like, it was hard. It was really, I mean, she was really purging it, right? She was just not really complaining, but she's purging. It was like, man, I don't know what to do. Things are just hard now. It just seems like it's hard across the industry. This is how she came. And I hear it, I know, because I've seen a lot of companies and industries, and I've seen where people actually succeeding, right? Some people do well and others do not. Okay. Because I've seen this. And she was just going through her thing, and was just like, man, I just don't know, things are just hard now. I'm thinking about just giving it up altogether. I'm thinking about just giving it up altogether. And I was feeling heartbroken inside of that, because I know like how much they put into it. I've seen their journey. I've seen like some of the successes they've had when they've chosen the right way, and they've gotten some results out of that. And then at this point, I'm saying, man, they're looking to give it all up. So she's telling me this, and at the end of it, she's sharing it, and I'm feeling all that. And it was like, well, I asked a question. Well, what actions have you taken to pivot? That's what I asked. What actions have you taken to pivot? And she's like, none. Right? And none. I was like, okay, I got it. There's no actions to take the pivot. I got you. All right. But then then the thing is right now, guys, like, well, why? Why is it that we're not taking the action to pivot? Number one, this choice here was not made. Number one. Number two, then there's not like the thing with just not working with us at that point in time, or just not really choosing somebody at least to deal with the compliance aspect of it, to measure everything, right? That's number two, right? That's the two things. Didn't make this choice, and then not being able to measure these things. Right? There's no process there, no system there, no action there to measure it so that they're in reality, right? And because of such, there was no actions in terms of pivots. So I'm bringing this full circle for us, okay? The pivots. Like, we think it's a mystery. We think that we're cursed. We think that we're subjected to the whims and circumstances of whatever it is we're facing, and that's not always the case. It's rarely the case, actually. It is rarely the case. What is always the case is that there are some things that we're just not measuring, or we are measuring those things. And because we're measuring those things, we get access to a new choice, and then we can pivot from there. Reefer weights went down. What's the pivot? We'll switch to something else. And it's like, well, Justin, that's so hard to do. I don't have a flatbed trailer. I don't have all this equipment. I don't have these things available for me to pivot to. Yeah. So you haven't chosen. Right. And so now that's what that is. You haven't chosen that I can and will shift things, right? You're magnetized and looking at all the things that are not it, instead of looking at, well, how to bridge this gap. That's it. The numbers are clear. Well, if I'm not going to get caught with my pants down again, is what I would say. That's what I would say. I'm not going to get caught with my pants down again. I'm going to make sure that if something happens with the market, I'm going to be able to pivot into something else that's going to produce. So let me go see what we can do with dry van work, because that's probably easiest. I can still maybe use the reefer for the dry van. It's a little bit heavier. Might not be a complete 53 feet of access inside the trailer, but I'm going to pivot, man, to make sure I'm going to get these rates and get loads that may be okay for me to take as dry van, and get those rates up, because it makes more sense, because I'm not going to be paying as much money to turn that reefer on and fuel and everything else. And I'm going to get higher rates in this lane because, reefer is not performing right now as much as dry van is. All right. So I'm going to pivot. All right. I may look into getting some flatbed equipment, rent, or call somebody on the phone. Hey, look, you got a flatbed I can use, so I can get out here and run this lane that's going to produce me more, because I got somebody on my truck who's had a flatbed experience, and I want to make sure that truck is moving and benefiting me all the way around. Okay. That's the level of conversation that we want to have in terms of being profitable in your fleet. Okay. The pivots that we can make, but we're not going to be able to make those pivots, guys, if we're not in reality. And when I say in reality, I mean, we're not measuring everything in front of us. We want to have those measurements. Okay. So how do we do that? Well, there's technology. Okay. So technology. Talk about, I'm saying chosen. Guys, you're supposed to tell me that I misspelled. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's like chosen, not choosing. You're supposed to tell me that. Say, hey, man, you got a typo in there. All right. But you want to choosing. All right. Okay. So now we want to also look at technology to help us get in reality. Okay. The technology to help us get into reality. Yeah, you saw it. We didn't say nothing. All right. You got to have my back in this conversation, man. Have my back. Let me know. Yeah, I got you. All right. Now, the technology inside of this. All right. We want to know, well, what technologies at our fingertips to be able to help us measure everything. Okay. I had a conversation today with somebody. Actually, let's start this. This was like a few days ago, right? It's like 3 days ago. I started talking with my wife. I'm like, man, I keep coming back to this whole idea about developing some software, right? Developing some software for the trucking industry to help them see everything, all right? And not just see everything, but have an end-to-end solution to manage all of their fleet operations. Something they can afford, and something that can really make the difference inside of them, like saving time, making money, keeping money, being able to have insights and visibility on whatever it is that we're talking about in these conversations, right? Because there's always a missing. from what I see. There's always a missing. It's not like it doesn't provide end to end. Like there's always going to be something missing on the financial side, maybe something missing on the operational side, like to tie it in, like compliance wise. But I want to be able to. This is the conversation, guys. I'm having this with my wife. I want to have. I want to have this solution, like technologically, right? Because I just haven't seen it. Like some other people have been working on things, but I haven't seen it to the degree that I would like to develop this. I was thinking maybe I'll take on that project. Is what I said after I finish the thing that we're focused on right now, right? So I said that to my wife, and then yesterday somebody hits me up on a messenger saying, "Hey, look, we're developing a trucking software, and we need advisors. And we saw you online. We want you to be one of our advisors to build this software out." And I was like, "Whoa, the universe, man, the universe." And so I got on a call with this person based on that because I was like, "Hey, man, this person just reached out to me, and I'm good on this call and see what this is about," because we just had this conversation, my wife and I, and we're talking about technology. She was saying the same things. Like there's some things that we deal with. There are like other built-in costs that we don't really like guys in the trucking industry. If you're a truck fleet owner, carrier, there are some things that we don't consider heavily, like factoring, like how the impact of that, and then the impact of maybe hiring a dispatcher, that the impact of using brokers all the time, the impact there, because a lot of times we don't see it up front, right? We don't know that up front, and we don't realize that it's really impacting us. Like you really is not impacted, it's impacting you in ways that you don't even realize. Like when I talk about the impact, it's always going to be to that bottom line, the amount of money that you get to keep. So we had that conversation based on the technology to help carriers save money, which means keep more money and be more profitable inside of the industry, and the end solution for that. Okay, um, to help you manage and monitor and manage, right, everything that you're doing inside of your fleet operations. So we talking about this, and as we're talking, I'm thinking about all the things that we do in order to bring it all together. So right now, I was working with. I don't know if you guys know Axon TMS. That's one of the TMSs that a lot of larger fleets will use to run their business. It's more expensive than a lot of trucking management software, right? It's pretty decent to use, and it still doesn't do everything, right? It still doesn't. It does a lot, but there are still gaps. And the thing that we want to do is continually bridge the gaps in what we're able to see and what we're able to measure. So you want to have all the technology in place to enable you to do that. Whether it's getting your ELD together and integrates with a QuickBooks, or if you have a TMS, you want to integrate that with your QuickBooks as well, or whatever accounting software if you're using spreadsheets. But the idea is to find the solutions, right? The technological solutions that, one, save you time, two, save you money, three, save you effort, four, and improve efficiency, right? So all of those things, like you able to see, like monitor everything, measure everything, and save you all those, the time, the money, improve and effort, improve efficiency inside of what we're doing there. So we want to keep constantly looking for the technology that's going to be a solution for that. And once we go all in with that technology, we want to honor that structure in the future. So I know that a lot of carriers I speak with in the industry, that's there's a way of thought that inhibits the implementation of things like that. They're just not used to the technology. They're not used to thinking on things like thinking about things on this level in terms of the technology. It's like a lot of the boots on the ground thought process. Either you're somebody who's really good with the operation, you're there, owner operator or managing drivers, or hands on, or then there might be somebody who's good administratively, but there's not like somebody who can do it all inside of it and bring it all together. And as a fleet owner, here's what I propose: that you get really good at understanding all the levels, like the high level thinking of the operational and running of the business aspect of your company, so that you can always bring these solutions to the table fast. Okay, so that you can measure things. Right. Until we do that, we're not going to have the level of profits in your company that you want. All right. You're going to keep ended up in the same places as before, spinning your wheels, and you're going to end up not getting, like, working hard all the time, but never getting the real result that you want. All right. That's that destination, if you will. All right. Now, for this conversation right now, we are complete on this. I want to continue this later next week. right? Keep me to that, hold me to that, because there are some things that we're going to look at specifically. Like I have some spreadsheets, I have some numbers, I have things that you can look at in order to understand how to manage profitability inside of trucking in any market. All right, so I want to keep this conversation going next week. As far as we are today, we are complete. It's been great being with you, and I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Happy trucking. Be profitable. See you next time. Bye bye.